Okay, I'm making this video about Ivy Leagues or upper level colleges as a possible cult-like drain on society. Um, if you'll note, a lot of the people that are working in political whirlwinds or media whirlwinds or something else, big pharma stuff, you might note that they went to an Ivy League and they visibly explain that they went to an Ivy League. Okay. Now, this is not all people that go to Ivy Leagues. There's many different variables and different types of people around that have attended Ivy Leagues. Okay. It's certain ones, okay, that the they take a horse and they drive it right through the crowd and they don't even note it. They don't even take notes while they're doing it. They purposefully do this. It's because their attendance at Ivy Leagues, their speaking in the crowds at the Ivy Leagues, whatnot. It has a cult-like control mechanism drain in it. Sometimes they might notice it, sometimes they might not notice it. And I can't speak on behalf of everything because everyone is different. I've watched some YouTube videos of people that attended Ivy Leagues. I personally have not attended an Ivy League, but I attended an off, like a lower tiered college. Um, yeah, I'm not very good at English. I was never very much. I was never the language. Um, I was never a language person. Put it that way. That's for other people. Anyway, um, but I am a STEM graduate at one of those lower tiered colleges. Okay, so I do notice things about Ivy Leagues. Okay, and what happens within the intellectual crowds. Meaning, I kind of know what comes around goes around. Political whirlwind versus actual truth, things like that. Okay, here's what I know about the cult-like behaviors coming out of Ivy Leagues or intellectual crowds, heavy intellectual crowds, your more professional society. Number one, evolutionary theories. You're sucking it in and believing it. Are you kidding me? We live in the internet age. How many people on this earth right now, as we speak, have a completely distorted face, like the nation itself. You have a generalized nation appearance face. How many have a totally off the charts facial feature? From what nation? Like you'd find it like in the middle of Africa, you might find a more broad nose or something. Far north Russia, you'll find, a certain set of features. You might find more Asiatic sometimes. Heavier, lighter skin tones. Okay. So, where among the human community, among the nations, are you going to find an extremely out there face? Okay. I'm going to guarantee that you are not going to find it. Evolutionary theories are far cry from reality. We are a human race. We are made of nations. When the Bible speaks about Abraham as a father of many nations, it's speaking about many different situations, language trails, and other things. Okay. Um, you're more likely to find out that the indigenous people of America are biologically aligned with Abraham somehow or another. They're of Shem, of the Bible. Okay. Evolutionary theories are false. They point to nothing. The closest primate relative, quote unquote, when they are apes, when are they going to notice that the sunrise time? When are they going to note the North Star and the directions, on a compass? Do they care? Do apes care? No. Okay. Do apes care that raccoons have the hands that have the same handprints as man? Okay. Did you know that the prints on the animals haven't changed for thousands of years? Do they know anything about the facts of how the animals have their handprints, like you can find in the Bible account, the different features of the hooves and the handprints. Okay. So evolutionary theories have no purpose. They're empty. They promote one nation above another nation, but we're all the same nation under Noah. We're all of many nations, and under Abraham, there's many different nations. Okay, next one. Ivy Leagues is a cult-like dream. They're highly critical of parental authority. That means that removal of children of home is no big deal to them. They don't think about it as a big deal. Who cares? They think that children can just wander off and do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do. You know, sometimes it's okay to kind of have a little bit of experimental thing, but in reality, a real parent knows you really can't do that. You have to have guidance and instruction from your home and from your point of view and from your perspective. Yes, I know some parents don't know it all and have all experiences. They haven't experienced all things. So there are some issues behind homes. Okay. This has been going on for years and years, and we wish to overcome the parental blindness. Some parents have domestic violence issues, whatever. Okay, we hope, not everyone works in an ER and knows what goes on there. Not everybody works as a veterinarian and knows what goes on there, okay? So there's just different things like they're extensive, high critical, being highly critical of parental authority. Emotionally, the children still need their own biological parents, if at all possible, or a close adopted condition or something like that. Okay. The Ivy Leagues have a cult-like drain. This is the next one. When they believe in the Big Bang Theory. Okay. They're distorting the facts of the patterns in our universe. They're trying to make themselves into the God that created the orders of the universe. Okay, you can get out a Farmer's Almanac and you can look up the astronomical position and locations of this, that, and the other. I guarantee that in the Bible it talks about the wise men coming from the east and they saw the star. They probably knew quite a bit about astronomical positions and orders of the universe. People are coming straight out of college and out of Ivy Leagues not knowing anything about astronomical position of the different planets and the ones that you can see without using a telescope. They don't know how to calculate those things. Why? Because they're so focused on Big Bang Theory. They don't know the natural patterns that just an average Joe man can find if he just simply picks up a Farmer's Almanac and studies it. They're getting so deep into far cry reality that they're making up their own God. They're becoming a God unto themselves. And they think that they can create. No. Okay. You can't create the color of the red planet. And you know what I'm talking about too. It's red. Man can't create his own lumen, and man can't create his own eyes. So he can't decide that there's a red planet up there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyway, the next thing I'm going to talk about. Okay. Ivy Leagues become a cult-like drain when Israel, on the map, yes, it's a political place. I'm not saying to cater to the people that live in Israel right now or the political drama. Israel, is it good or bad? Always good or always bad? There's the question for you. Many people have come from the Ivy League. People from the Ivy League take many notes on what goes on in Israel. What comes and goes from Israel, historical and modern day. Seems to be a heavy focal point to this day. And I'm going to say this. What does God say versus what does a modern man say? How come, why are Ivy Leagues painting the picture like certain nation groups, which see the modern day Israel as always bad? Why are the Ivy Leagues painting those groups in a good light? Like the ISIS groups, why are they suddenly painting those people as good? When reality is that God's word says differently, and we know better about what goes on in Israel. Okay? Yes, most Israeli people are of Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry background. That's a fact. Okay. But why do they even try to adventure into believing that they can somehow support these far cry terror groups which say that Israel is always bad no matter what? It makes no sense. I personally haven't traveled to these different countries or nations which have such hatred towards Israel, but I can venture to say that you cannot support things like Black Lives Matter and a hatred of Israel. It doesn't work. It's like oil and water. Okay. There's something going on with that. Okay. The next thing I have with Ivy Leagues is a cult-like drain. Big Pharma Promotion Club. Boy, do they love Big Pharma. Yes, we need pharmacy drugs. Yes, we need paid professionals who know about women's health. I can tell you time and time again that yes, we need someone who knows about how to handle the maternity ward correctly. Um, there's plenty of dementia patients. There's plenty of, you know, stroke victims and whatnot. They are a big pharma promotion club. There's sometimes where you have no choice. Okay, we just go by faith. There's sometimes where um, a family doesn't have any options, and sometimes there's no way around certain things. Okay, so yeah, you end up using Big Pharma. But when they get into the extreme vaccine industry, I'm kind of sitting here looking at the way it really works, and it sounds a little bit more like the money is more important than the actual health and the real remedies available. The Ivy Leagues become a cult-like drain when they are haters of alternative medicines and do-it-yourself care, especially for the most vulnerable among us. The most vulnerable would be, your children under 21. I say 21 because sexualized junk exists, and they are really pushing Big Pharma on certain sexuality topics these days. Okay, the vulnerable. Your vulnerable adult, typical vulnerable adult, and your extreme poverty cases, immigrants, they're really pushing your Big Pharma on those types of situations, immigrants and whatnot. Okay. The next thing, the Ivy Leagues become a cult-like drain when they are craving the far left sexuality, cult-like beliefs. They are haters of truth, the haters of the truth of redemption. Okay, you personally don't have to believe me, but I personally believe that Jesus was a part of the judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah. Why? Because God and Jesus are the same. Jesus is God in the flesh. Okay, he's the Word become flesh and dwelt among us. So he is the Word. He judged Sodom and Gomorrah, and there's evidence that it was judged. Okay, does that mean that somehow anyone who believes that is an extreme LGBT phobic? No, it just means you have your personal beliefs about that and you won't go there. Ivy Leagues are doing the opposite. They're sending signals that they can set up their own marriage license, and it's a scam. It's a literal scam. Number one. Number two, they're affecting the most vulnerable among us. They're setting up their kingdom, and it involves literal story hour remedies to fix things, and it's gross, and I don't want to talk about all of it. They are the ones that want to fire the teachers in our public schools or other spaces where there's public involvement with the populations, even healthcare situations sometimes. They want to fire these workers wherever they are if they don't agree with gender flip-flopping. especially in your most vulnerable under age 21. Fact. Here's a fact. High suicidality rates from far left sexuality practices. That is a fact. That has nothing to do with how smart or how foolish a person happens to be. It's just a fact. Okay? Yes, Jesus did act in different ways and he hung around the sinners. Check with him before you believe everything you believe when it comes to far left sexuality, cult-like beliefs. And here's another thing. Yes, people have been married to Ivy League people off and on, different ways. You know, I know of people that have been divorced. I know of someone who lost a spouse here and there. They went to Ivy Leagues. Okay. I'm just going to say that, okay, they already know what sexuality is and they went to an Ivy League. Why are people from Ivy Leagues catering to the far left? Makes no sense. Okay. The next thing. 1619 Project and the projection plan in place along with enslavement via the anti-police rhetoric. Okay, yeah. I watched a video on a professor that worked at Harvard, and he still felt like he was being oppressed, even though he was a black professor. Okay, he still felt an oppressive weight on his shoulder. Okay, I understand. He's getting some sort of force that doesn't feel right, and he is not getting his voice. Okay, that to me is not the 1619 Project issue or topic. People that want to express understanding that African Americans were originally on this America's land well before 1619 and were not enslaving each other, or they lived around the Mayans or something like that, way before Columbus or something like that. They were not all brought over in slave ships. If someone wants to study in history that and project that reality, who cares? The 1619 Project is an opposite plan. It is an anti-police junk plan. It says that all Christian values are worthless. And I'm sitting here like, really? Have you read Frederick Douglass' biography? He had some biblical foundations in there. President Obama endorsed that book. Okay. I haven't read all Frederick Douglass biography topics, but I do know I read a biography and it was about Frederick Douglass, and Obama endorsed that book. And Obama himself said it's not good to have extreme anti-police rhetoric. And I'm sitting here like, where are these people coming from that want to promote this 1619 Project and rewire all of American society? Where are they coming from? We need some sort of tracking system in order to keep fingerprints on our professional people in check. Your people that use fingerprints, your professional doctor in the ER. Okay. You can't go without law and order. Okay. Okay. You have ERs and they speak English. They use the English language. It's interesting to study history and look at languages and cultures prior to 1619. I agree. But the anti-police rhetoric does nothing. Okay? It will not fix financial problems or any of that. Okay. It's only creating lawlessness. Okay. The next thing. Ivy League's becoming cult-like. Drain. Okay. The culture shock isn't so much for the possibility of truth in the different cultures and among the different nations, but it is in the promotion of itself. Their version of shock is learning indigenous languages, like Native American languages. That's a shock to the system. Going to powwows regularly, that's a shock to them. Okay? All right. It's it's not a real um, truth. It's not truth. It's Karen mentality type shock, culture shock. It's not full truth. It's kind of like you don't really want to engage with those people. You just have to out of out of obligation in order to get your degree. That's a Karen mentality. Okay. You don't actually want to be there. Your heart isn't saying that it wants to be there. This is an old, this is coming. I'm guessing this is coming from our old missionary beliefs of these Ivy Leagues. There were some pretty shocking methods they were using to basically, there were some shocking methods they were using to become missionaries on the indigenous populations of America. Um, I wouldn't go there. Those methods are a drain, literally. They were filled with child theft and removal of children from homes and putting them in a separate place. It was evil, basically. Some of it was downright evil. Okay. No wonder the indigenous populations were shoved around so much. The Ivy Leagues and their missionary work. Yeah, okay. I'm going to stop there. You can do your own research on that. Okay. Now the next one. Speaking of that one, Ivy Leagues is a cult like drain. This one can be confusing because there's a difference between actual Bible, which actually does work, and actually you need the Moses accounts in order to make it work. You actually need the Hebrew culture to understand the Bible better. But here's the thing the Ivy Leagues do. Christianity is always the bad guy and always the white supremacist. Never anything else. No. There's never any problems with any other racial group. It always has something to do with Christianity. Like, what type of Christianity are you talking about? Are you talking about the full Bible, the full born again stuff, or what are you talking about, you know? Wouldn't you think it has something to do with something else? Who's our solution? Is it the modern day Christian singers? Pop culture Christian singers? Are they the solution to all of this? I think we can do our own research and see where this is coming from. They're trying to push the false version of Christianity, which is just putting up your Christmas tree and walking by the homeless man, versus the truth, which is there are people wanting to be on the front lines and fix this world because of the sin in our hearts and minds in local realms. Okay, speaking of that, next one. The Ivy Leagues become a cult-like drain when they can't identify what local elderly and what vulnerable neighbor and love them as yourself. Why would Jesus say that? Why would this be promoted in the Moses accounts? Immune systems, they are us. They are our human conditions. Same with our face features. We have identity. Why do we need our identity stripped by some Big Brother system? And you know how Big Brother systems work. I know how Big Brother systems work. And a place that has intellectual clubs in a country that has communism, let's just say it's not the panda bears that are doing it. Surely they're not the Big Brother systems. I'm not going to tell you what country I'm talking about. They're way over there. They aren't helping our local people here on this continent. They don't care about the facts about who has more skin tone than the other one or something like that, you know? So, we're going to put the computer first, or are we going to put the people first? The local neighbor. All right, I think that kind of clears it up. Are you going to put the computer first or the cult computer first? The cult-like behavior first. Okay. Yes, we do need intellectually gifted individuals, or we can have some problems, especially with our paralytic conditions. Jesus talks about those things. Okay. Consult him. I'm not saying every Christian is perfect. I'm saying the promotion of the parables and the Sermon on the Mount kind of gets the juices rolling upstairs and then in the heart. Okay. I'm going to stop there and then consider those things.